Hello and welcome to another episode of the AutoTrader Podcast. My name is Wandile Sishi.
And I'm Dracula.
We got Dracula in the studio today. So, watch out for me. So we have a different set today because Halloween's coming. I think. Yeah. Halloween is coming on the 30th
of October.
I'm just counting. Yeah, definitely. So we have a little bit of a different show today. And I think...
well, it's just playing into the hype of Halloween.
Do you partake in Halloween? Is this something that you
have before? Yeah, it's fun. The kids love it.
I actually do it every single year. I host a little bit of a thing for all of my friends, where everyone gets to dress up and.
I've dressed up before. I like dressing up as a vampire.
Why a vampire?
I don't know. I've been intrigued by them.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I think everyone's been a little bit intrigued by vampires. I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the photos of my Halloween costume this year.
Ooh.
Are you going to dress up this year at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll go scare the kids.
For me. Do it for me.
I'll go scare the kids.
100%. So we got, in staying on theme, I'm going to tell you a little bit of some true stories, true haunted car stories, which I found, that I found on the internet, and that I've heard actually. I don't know do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever seen anything that's a bit creepy in your life before?
Never met one.
Never met a ghost?
No.
I've actually seen a ghost on camera. A true story.
Well, you know what? There's a hotel in Matjiesfontein.
I don't know where that is.
So if you take a road trip to Cape Town, okay, Google Matjiesfontein. It's a railway. I think it's a shunting station.
Okay.
And there's a little museum there with all of the old kind of railway, things that they did, like old telephone, and they've got it all set up with mannequins and stuff. And it's pretty interesting. They've got an old bus there, old post office, old, it was like just a little,
small town.
Town of like maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
And I think it's the Lord Milner Hotel. That's what I think the hotel is called. Let me check. Matjiesfontein Hotel. I think it's the Lord Milner. Let me check. Yeah, Lord Milner Matjiesfontein Hotel.
What happened at this hotel? You got me. The anticipation is killing me.
So the family so the hotel was first, on my recollection, the family that owned, it was their house. Okay. It was a rich family, I think. And somebody died in this hotel, and it's a lady, and she never left.
She's still just roaming the little corridors.
And they've got pictures of her as
like a little ghost.
As a ghost. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I mean, the Matjiesfontein ghost story. So if you've never been to, go and stay in Matjiesfontein. You can stay in the hotel itself.
Yeah, no, I'm fine, thank you. No.
Matjiesfontein is reputed to be the most haunted town in South Africa. The history of this Karoo oasis includes fortification during the South African War, the headquarters of the Cape Command, that's what it was, refuge for some controversial war crime hearings, etc., etc. There's no malevolent ghosts there, so ghosts don't do bad things. The ghosts of Matjiesfontein are said to be both playful and mischievous.
Oh my God!
And they are totally unconcerned with the events around them. So you get introduced to Lucy.
So who introduced you to these ghosts? Like
the tour guide.
Okay.
The main staircase going up to the first story divides the two and turns back to climb to the second story. On the first landing, it's a steep staircase. There's a door at the top and a plaque saying Kate's card room.
Kate is the second ghost, I'm assuming.
This leads to the room inside the central turret that was used as a lookout and a guard room when the hotel was an army hospital.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe my story about this family is before that.
Yeah.
Who is Kate? Kate, as the story goes, was a young nurse who used to enjoy playing cards in this room with the convalescent patients. Whether this was in the days of the British Officers' Hospital, which seems to be unlikely if it was a lookout, or later when the hotel was a popular health resort, it's not clear. But playing cards Kate did as part of the therapy for the people who she was looking after.
So did you go to this hotel? Or
I stayed there.
You stayed in the hotel?
Kate, aged 19, died mysteriously.
Yeah.
And strange things have happened in that turret room ever since.
Did you experience these strange things that happened?
I went to the turret room. The young hotel guest saw a woman floating around one of the lower passages at about 7:45 one evening.
Mm-hmm.
A few minutes after that, the guest and her friend went up to the narrow steps to the card room. I felt that there were people in there, she said.
Yeah.
And they walked into the room.
And were there people in there?
Which was empty.
Okay. But you could sense the people in there. I don't know.
The locked door leading to the roof started rattling and carried on for about a minute. One of the housekeepers had another experience. A woman not given to hysteria or over-imaginativeness, who went into the card room at about the hour of 12:30 p.m. Something brushed past her.
At 12:30 p.m. This is like during the day, okay?
She turned. Wow, do ghosts only come out at night?
I mean,
She turned around and saw a woman with a long white dress or a nurse's uniform. Almost immediately, the apparition faded. The housekeeper also scuttled down to the other staff members, gasping at her story. Kate, looking for her patients, or perhaps wanting to play a game of cards.
I mean, it's a lovely story. It is, but I don't know. I've actually, you were there, so you would be able to kind of vouch for the story. Do you believe that this hotel is a bit?
Don't know. It looks very eerie, if you ask me.
I've actually seen a ghost on camera before. So I've never seen one physically, but on a camera I saw feet, which were not supposed to be there. So do I believe in them? I don't know. But otherwise, it's a fun thing to kind of look into. So I have a few stories. Maybe some of them you've heard, some of them you haven't heard before. But there are a few cars around the world which are supposedly haunted. And I think staying in South Africa and ghosts. So I don't know if you ever heard about the Renault in Cape Town, which is haunted or supposedly haunted.
No.
So the story goes like this. In the year 2004, essentially this family were hosting a little bit of a dinner party with some friends. And they started to get a little bit scared because they heard their car engine starting, essentially. So they got a bit creeped out by the fact that this was happening. The whole family was there. So why was the car sort of making noises by themselves? So those intruders. It is South Africa. But when they went to go inspect the car, they found no keys in the ignition and the handbrake engaged. So the family was like, what's going on here? Why is the car making noises and stuff? Eventually police come and inspect the car. There's now 9 people at the scene of this. And they all reported, including the police officers, this is a true story, they all witnessed and noticed the car had jumped into a tree. Not like jump, but it drove itself into a tree. But there was nobody in the car.
Well, I mean, obviously people from the 1800s didn't know how to drive.
I mean, this is a Renault Megane, though. Oh, you're talking about the ghost that supposedly took over the car, yeah.
They don't know how to drive. Of course they're going to crash. What do you think?
Yeah, so that's the story of the Renault.
There's no K53 on AutoTrader for ghosts.
100%. There was no AutoTrader back then, so.
Well, we don't train ghosts.
100%. So that's the first story. I've actually heard it before a few times. I don't know if it's supposedly true, but there's lots of claims that this is a real story about this Renault Megane. Renault has completely disputed this whole thing and say that it never happened.
Do you believe in the afterlife?
Me, personally, I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
To a certain degree.
Do you think they can come back?
In what capacity?
Ghost?
I do. I think that,
Like, what do you think is going on here?
I think there are ghosts. I think the ghosts do exist. Can they drive? Probably not.
No, I mean, like unless they're born in like the 1900s.
Yeah, there's probably no chance that a ghost could.
Like driving a Model T, Mr.
Yeah.
Ghost, and ain't the same as driving my electric car.
100%. They're probably like,
You're gonna crash.
what is this? Where's the ignition?
Well, where's the starter on the nose of the car?
Exactly that. More strange stories. So I'm sure you've heard about JFK's assassination a few years ago when he was assassinated. But his car is actually currently being displayed in some museum in the US. And a lot of people claim that his car is also haunted.
Is he still in it?
Apparently there's a ghost. Nobody can sort of, make out what it is. But they sense that there's a little bit of a vibe around this vehicle. Is it true? I don't know. On presidents, so Abraham Lincoln as well, his funeral train is also reported to be a little bit haunted, and you can also go and see it. And people claim to see it sort of traveling around the city that it's in. So there's lots of counter stories about these little haunted vehicles around the world that are still roaming.
I know about the Bonnie and Clyde vehicle.
Yeah,
I've heard about that.
that was a Ford Model 18, I think.
It was a
I'm pretty sure it was a
1930s. Yeah, 1932 Ford Model 18. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
yeah.
It's got bullet holes everywhere.
What do you know about that story?
Well, who Bonnie and Clyde were, whether they're the ones who are haunting the car, but two of the infamous villains in the 20th century, famous for their string of robberies and murders and kidnappings in the 1930s, continue to strike fear in people's hearts nearly 80 years later. On the night of May 23rd, 1934, police ambushed the Ford and delivered a swift justice for Bonnie and Clyde's crimes in the form of over 100 bullets. If you go and have a look at the pictures of that car, you can see the bullet holes, which killed them both instantly.
Why do they still parade these cars? I feel like I understand that it's historic, but why would you put it in a museum?
Because it creates mystery and it's interesting.
I mean, fair enough, but
The same car now sits in Whiskey Pete's Casino in Nevada, still bullet-ridden. Seeing such an eerie sight would be enough for a place on this list, but many visitors have reported an uneasy sense of not feeling alone whilst around the car.
I can believe that to a certain degree. I can believe that you can feel.
There are some photos of a car at car shows where the mysterious objects are nearby.
Yeah, one day we should go and visit some of these and see if it's true.
The Bonnie and Clyde car.
The Bonnie and Clyde car. I think that's definitely on my list of vehicles to see. For sure. Another infamous car that's supposedly haunted was James Dean's Porsche 550. Very, very famous car. And it's supposedly also one of the vehicles which people have sensed that there's a little bit of presence around. It was sold recently, actually. So, maybe the new owner can give us some insights into, is this car still very much haunted? So, those are just some of the vehicles. I don't know if you believe in it. So I don't know if you want to go and see any of them, but
yeah, I mean, besides Halloween, it's like not something that's at the top of my to-do list.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's some haunted places in South Africa besides haunted cars. The Castle of Good Hope. Have you ever been there?
I've been there before. Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, Erasmus Castle in Pretoria.
I've never been there.
A hostel in Philippolis in the Free State, Fort Frederick in Eastern Cape, Fox House in Johannesburg, Kempton Park Hospital.
I know about Kempton Park. I know about that one.
It's an abandoned hospital.
Yeah.
St. Catherine's School in Germiston.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Nottingham Road Hotel in KZN, Old Presidency in Bloemfontein, the residence of the official residence of the former Orange Free State. The Old Goal in Grahamstown. I've never heard of that. Somerset Hospital.
Are these places that you can go and visit? Because I'd love to see if somebody can go there.
Grey High School. Old Jail in Free State.
Mm-hmm.
Kensington Sanatorium.
It's not far from us.
It's a madhouse, right?
Yeah.
Apparently that you can hear room murmurs.
That's just the crazies inside there. I swear. I don't believe it's the ghosts.
Sunnyside Park Hotel, Kensington Cave, Jeppe High School for Boys.
Played them in rugby.
Yeah. So there's a couple of haunted places in South Africa besides haunted cars.
Besides the haunted cars, I want somebody to go and check out one of these spots. Or maybe if you have a story about actually.
Well,
it would be interesting to
so
find out
the
if
De Deer
it's true.
Ghost. Have you heard of the De Deer Ghost?
No, I don't. Is that like a website where you can write to a ghost?
No. The De Deer Ghost is so the legend of the De Deer Ghost. Let me read it to you. The De Deer Ghost is a well-known Meyeton in the well-known Meyeton area in Gauteng.
Yeah.
Since it's been around for a long time, the exact details have become lost from telling the story to so many people. Broken telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Many decades ago, there lived a farmer with his family in the small town of De Deer. The farmer kept a close watch on his beautiful daughter and discouraged any male suitors from courting her. He became suspicious of her nightly activities after a young man crossed her path.
I think I've heard this story.
This local lad had a motorbike and frequently sped up and down Boundary Road in De Deer. He became aware of the fact that the two would meet up. As soon as he retired to bed at night, his daughter then signaled the young man, who parked further down Boundary Road with his motorbike, by flicking her bedroom light 3 times when the coast was clear.
Mm-hmm.
He would then race towards her house and pick her up while everyone indoors was asleep. Legend has it that the farmer wanted to put an end to this relationship. And one night he strung a piece of wire across the road from tree to tree in the hopes of knocking the lad off his bike.
I do know the story, yes.
He estimated that the wire would be around chest height. When the young man would come driving down with his motorcycle, he was wrong. The wire caught him unawares, and it was strung too high, instantly decapitating the young man. Exactly how people started to notice this residual haunting is unknown. However, if you park on Boundary Road in De Deer and flick your car lights 3 times, you'll be able to lure the headless motorbike rider into making an appearance. The most common version of those who visit the site is that out of nowhere, a bright light, that of a motorcycle, appears and comes racing past you at great speed.
It's probably just somebody who lives there, I swear.
You don't believe it?
I think somebody just lives there and they just love, whenever people, someone flicks their lights, they're like, this is perfect.
The motorcyclist in De Deer.
Well, there you have it. If you even that brave, go and check out the De Deer Ghost.
Are you going to go look?
No ways. Moving on. So scary things to happen to you whilst driving and what to do. So have you ever experienced scary moments whilst you're driving? It doesn't have to be a ghost or anything, just generally where you're like, oh my God, this could be...
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens to everybody. It's, if you're driving and you're not paying too much attention, but fortunately I've never succumbed to anything, but a truck kind of... A guy
swaying towards you.
Yeah, just kind of like moving towards you. That's quite a scary thing.
No, for sure. For sure. I mean, I've spotlighted a few things. I've actually been in one of these scenarios now. Maybe I'll start with there. So I don't know if you've ever hydroplaned before or driven over like sand or something and lost traction in your vehicle. Does that happen? Or water.
Yeah, it's called aquaplaning.
Yeah.
And it's happened to the best of us. With ABS brakes and traction control nowadays, it's a lot less. But back in the day, before traction control and ABS brakes, aquaplaning was a serious problem. It's a serious problem.
What do you do in that scenario? Because I mean, I can tell you my story afterwards, but what's the best case scenario?
The best thing you can do if you begin aquaplaning is do not brake. Yeah. The worst thing you can do is touch the brake pedal. Yeah. Because what will happen, you will lose all traction. So even the little bit of traction you've got,
it's better than not having any traction.
It's better than not having any traction. So do not touch the brake.
Yeah.
if you can think fast enough, accelerating is the best course of action out of an aquaplane.
Why? Just trying to get water.
Because when you brake, the wheels then stop moving, right? And then a little kind of cushion of water builds up under the tires, which then causes the aquaplane to get worse.
Yeah.
Whereas when you accelerate, the wheels begin to turn, which then displaces the water. And you can actually get more traction that way. But you've got to be careful if you put your foot down in terms of which direction the front wheels are facing, because you're gonna end up going in that direction.
So that happened to me. I was going on a little roundabout during the rain. Excuse me, and I saw aquaplaning. And I play lots of video games, so that's what saved my life. I knew that if I braked, it was gonna be bad, but I didn't accelerate. So I just went with the flow and and hoped that I didn't crash, and luckily I didn't. So I think the first things to do there is just don't brake is the main sort of parting words.
Yeah, do not brake.
Okay, the next one is your car shuts off. What do you do in that scenario? You're busy driving. It happens to a lot of people. I mean, it happened to a friend of mine recently. You're busy driving and your car just shuts off. Obviously, depending on where you are, that's when it would become scary or not.
Why would your car just shut off?
So what happened to my friend's car is that the alternator belts just kind of flew off essentially,
and didn't hear it.
Didn't hear it at all. Well, it was. I think you get signs. You get signs before it happens. Exactly. Yeah.
Bumping the music and hear it.
But there are signs when your car's about to shut off. And I think that's the first thing to do is kind of look at all the electrical work and see if anything is dying. If things start fading, the sooner you can get to like a safe place or a garage is probably the best thing to do in that scenario. The next one I want to talk about is if your brakes stop working.
So let's just talk about the car kind of just
stopping.
Like, and you're going to coast to a stop.
Mm-hmm.
Try and get to the left-hand side of the road.
Okay.
Like as fast as you can, obviously safely, because I've seen so many instances of cars just stopping in the lane that they're in, and that is a disaster waiting to happen.
Somebody might not see you in the distance, for instance, if you're in the fast lane. 100%. What happens if your brakes stop working? Do you know what to do in that scenario?
Yeah, take your foot off the gas immediately. Mm-hmm. Okay, try and gear down because the engine will brake the car.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, so try and gear down. Even if you've got an automatic, you've got manual gear shift. Most cars have got manual gear shift.
Yeah.
And try and bring the car to a stop. If there are no vehicles around you, you can veer from side to side to slow the momentum of the car.
Yeah.
To change the direction of the car constantly until it stops. That will help. But again, get to the left-hand side of the road, and when the car comes to a stop, use the handbrake if you've got one.
Oh, that's a good idea. Actually, yeah.
If your brakes have failed, but often the handbrake doesn't work. But if you've got an older car, it's got a brake cable on the handbrake, which means you can use the handbrake to stop the car.
Last one I have for you is what do you do if you're driving and a truck in front of you has lots of poles, copper poles, and they just go flying off?
Have you had visions of this?
I haven't, but I've seen a movie where this happened.
Oh my goodness.
What do you do in that scenario when the copper wire just, they just fly off the truck and come towards you?
You get out of the back of that truck. That's what you do.
This actually happens to a person. It's a scene on Final Destination. I think it's Final Destination 3.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This has actually happened before.
Really?
Yep.
I don't drive behind trucks with copper pipes on.
Yeah.
I don't drive behind trucks with things with big things on.
100%. The pole went through the window, went through the person's head, but they survived. So, there's still a chance that you can still make it, but that's not just a random scene in a movie. It's actually happened before.
One more South African ghost story involving a road.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Uniondale ghost.
I think I've heard the story as well. But please, indulge me.
So a young woman who stands alongside a lonely stretch of road between Uniondale and Willamore.
Okay.
Do you know where this is?
PE. Everything happens in Gqeberha.
When people stop to offer her a lift, she gets into the car and then unsettlingly vanishes. Imagine that.
Jeez.
One encounter with the ghost was reported by a young man who saw her on Good Friday 1973 and offered her a lift. She got into the car and gave her destination as Portestraat 2 de Lange.
Okay.
After traveling a short distance, she disappeared. The distressed man reported the incident to the local police, who offered to follow him to the site of the incident with another vehicle. Just outside Union Jail, a passenger door of a young man's vehicle opened and closed, as if someone had gotten out.
Whoa, that's creepy.
He stopped immediately and consulted with the white-faced policeman, who said who had seen the door open and close without any movement from the young man. Similar stories have been reported at other times. The ghost is said to be a young woman, Maria Charlotte Roux, who tragically died in the early hours of 12th April 1968 when her fiancé lost control of the car in which they were traveling.
That's super creepy. I mean, I've heard that story before. I think one of my managers was telling me it. But once again, I don't believe this. But if you have any stories about weird ghost stories, please share them with us, and maybe we might even bring it up in the next episode. It's pretty much all the time.
It looks like it's mostly in the
small towns.
In the small towns.
It's never like in Joburg or something. Never in Benoni.
In die Afrikaners. In die Afrikaanse se dorpies.
It's never in, Benoni or Randburg.
Well, there's one in Kempton Park.
Yeah. Fair enough. Thank you, George. See you next week.
Cheers.
Search AutoTrader.